Users that like to work with attributes, you're going to love this one, because what you're going to do is you're going to create a block. Now at the moment, as you can see, this is just a normal hatch with some arc and lines and circles to it. We're going to add the attribute and then you're going to make it a block, and as soon as you're going to rotate it, you will see that your attribute will remain horizontal, or the text itself. So the command that you're going to make use of is under modify, you go down to blocks, and you see this attribute command where it says create attribute. Now, before you're going to make use of this command, we first have to set up the text style, because the nice enhancement is applicable to your text style and not to the command itself. So let's go one step back and let's go to your text set. So we're going to create a style, and in this manage, you're familiar now with how to create a text style. I'm going to say new, and I'm going to call this one attribute. I'm going to say OK. I can select the font that I would like to make use of. And before I'm going to say OK, have a look now. This is the new enhancement to the command. On the left hand side, I'm going to switch on annotative. That activates the option that says match text orientation to layout. So I'm going to switch that on, and as soon as I'm going to say OK, that text style is created. And now the command itself. Now instead of going all the way the same path, modify, blocks, attribute, etc. Remember what I showed you earlier on. I can just right click, recent commands, and I'm going to say create attribute. It's exactly the same, takes me to the same command. So now I'm going to fill in this dialog. On the left hand side, I'm going to switch on my preset. It's going to be a lock position in the block. I'm going to specify on the screen. My value will prompt the value, and I'm going to ask for, let's call this one part number. My text justification is going to be middle center, and now I'm going to select the text style that we've just created, and it's annotative, and my text height is 5. So I'm going to say OK, and Caddie will ask us pick point to insert the attribute definition. So I'm going to indicate the position, and there's my tag. Now, as soon as I'm going to create a block now, Caddie will ask us to update the tag. So I'm just going to change this blue to this white. So let's select the content, and now we're going to create the block. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to say make block. The name, let's call this part. And as you can see, the use center point for object is already switched on. Earlier on, I explained it to you, so I don't have to worry, because I would like to have the control point or the origin of my block to be centered. So I'm going to say OK, and immediately Caddie will ask us if I want to update the attribute. In this case, it will ask me for my part number, and we're going to call this 1. So I'm going to say OK, and there's the 1. And here comes the nice thing. Now, as you can see, this is a block reference. So when I'm going to bring in the block, modify blocks, insert block. Now I'm going to say bring in this block that we've just created, and I'm going to say OK. And while it's attached to my pointer, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to ask Caddie and rotate. In this case, I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Can be clockwise. And as soon as I'm going to place it, Caddie will ask us what is the attribute. I'm going to make it 2. And while it's attached to my pointer, I can still right click and rotate again. Let's make it 45 degrees. I'm going to place it over here. Ask me to update the attribute. That is part number 3. So as soon as I say OK, and I press escape, have a look and see. My text is horizontal. So if I go to my sheet, where I've created the viewport of origin, as you can see, my text remains horizontal. So even if I go back to my model space now, and I'm going to ask Caddie to rotate one of these objects, say a rotation angle, I'm going to go rotate, 0 for dynamic, I'm going to press enter, indicate the midpoint, indicate my control point, have a look and see. I'm going to rotate it in my model space, have a look and see what's going to happen with the attribute. I'm going to place my tool, press escape, and as you can see, it remains horizontal. Let's go back to the sheet. You can just see it remains.